Hi, this is Michael Buffer, and welcome to the BoxHard Podcast.
Hello, everyone. This is Mikey Garcia.
It's the monster from the swamps, Regis Rougarou Prograis.
Hey, what's up? This is King Carlos Molina, former IBF world champ.
This is Michael, the Bounty Hunter, 2012 Olympian and your people's champ.
This is Charlie Edwards, flyweight champion of the world.
This is Fast Eddie Chambers, and you're listening to the BoxHard Podcast with my main man, Joey Coastman.
Hello everybody and welcome to episode 396 of the BoxHard Podcast. I'm your host Joey Coastman. I'm joined as ever by former heavyweight world title challenger Mr. Fast Eddie Chambers. Eddie, how you doing this week, my man?
I'm doing good, my man. How about you?
Yeah, I can't really complain this week, Eddie. Obviously, as you know, I'm in Spain, so I'm recording this week's podcast from sunny Spain. Yes, it's a nice change of scenery, obviously out here. And yeah, you know, it's a nice place. It's a nice place. Got the hot tub outside, which is quite nice. I've been in that a couple of times, but yeah, can't complain, my man. How's things with you?
Everything's good. Doing obviously working like crazy as usual. You know, getting as much done as I possibly can in the way of, you know, me getting in shape, as well as training people and, you know, doing those other things like that. So yeah, I'm working like a fool.
Anyways, let's dive straight into the review part of the show, Eddie. I'm going to start here with a card that took place last Thursday at the Palais des Sports in France. This one took place, like I say, Thursday, May 11th. I'm going to try and really fly through the review part of the show in particular this week. Yeah, so this card over here, I mentioned it on last week's show. I said it's definitely going to go the distance, I felt. Bastian Ballesta, he was 25-0 with a draw. I think he only had about 5 KOs. Hadn't really boxed anyone of note, though, to be honest. He got in there with veteran Yvonne Mendy, now 48-6 with a draw, because Yvonne Mendy was able to win a split decision over 12 rounds for the IBF International Super Lightweight title. That belt now belongs to Mendy. Yeah, there was decent odds on that happening, to be totally honest with you. Like I say, it was a big step up for Ballesta, who'd been quite protected, really. And Mendy, yeah, a wily old fox, was able to pull it off, split decision. Moving now to the Maher Centre, or the Maher Centre in Leicester, United Kingdom. This one over here, promoted by Mervyn Turner. Couple fights to mention on the card. Leon Woodstock, now 13-3, a nice return to the ring for him. A knockout, actually, in round 3 against Louis Norman. Louis Norman now 14-11 with a draw. Norman down twice in round 1 and once in round 3 prior to being knocked out by a right hand. So that's quite a big win there for Leon Woodstock, even though Louis Norman, I'd say, is probably a few weight classes above where he should be these days. CJ Challenger now 13-0, a points win over 8 against Ruben Angulo, now 8-5 with 2 draws. And friend of the show, Lerone Richards, now 17-0, a knockout for him, a rare knockout for him. It was a 4th round knockout against Harry Matthews, now 17-72 with 6 draws. Matthews down prior to being knocked out by a right hand. Again, you know, I don't want to go in on this too much, but what on earth is Lerone Richards doing? Fantastic fighter, you know, can achieve massive things in the sport, but I just don't understand what on earth is going on with this guy. Moving now to the York Hall in Bethnal Green over here. Good few fights to mention, actually. A fighter perhaps to keep an eye on. Alois Yumbi, now 4-1. A big knockout for him. Heavy knockout for him in round 3 against Borna Gricic, who's now 3-3. Gricic down in the first round. But yeah, like I say, that knockout in round 3 was definitely a massive one, you know. Not going to make it to short list of knockout of the year, but certainly one to mention. Sean Noakes as well, 5-0, a TKO for him in the first round against Robin Zamora, who's now 19-21. I thought that one had a chance of going a distance, but like I say, Sean Noakes quite difficult to predict if he's going to get a knockout win or a points win so far in his career. He seems to just surprise me all the time. Michael Soksnitsky, or whatever his name is, the Polish fighter, now 7-0. He was actually able to to get Israel Dufus out of there, which is, I guess, a bit of a statement in comparison because, you know, obviously in his last fight, Israel Dufus went the distance with Shev Clark, but Sosniski was able to get him out. He retired on his stall at the end of round 4. He didn't want to come out for round 5. It was only a 6th rounder. He was down in the 4th round, Dufus. So that's a bit of a statement win there for the poll, and it's quite funny because there's a lot of people that were actually betting on Dufus to win the fight to pull off the upset, but I wasn't one of those people. Moving up the card once again, Ryan the Piranha Garner now 13-0. Quite happy for him as well to come back here with a knockout win in round 2 against Eduardo Valverde, now 3-11 with a draw. Valverde down twice from body shots prior to the stoppage. Good win there for Ryan Garner. Good win as well for Chris Bulk, now 12-1, a points win for him over 6 against Kevin Tranner, now 15-4 with 2 draws. Karol Itama went the distance. This again was one I could see coming. You could just over triple your money for that one. He's now 10-1. I think the odds were 9-4. Yeah, points win. Quite an uneventful fight really until the last round when his opponent Khalid Gradia was down. But yeah, he didn't get knocked out. He got back up and survived. He's now 10-10 with 4 draws. Karol Itama, not the comeback that I think people wanted to see. Ellis Zorro, this was the main event. He's now 16-0. He was able to TKO in round 7 Hosea Burton. It was a good fight while it lasted. Burton down prior to the stoppage. It was for the vacant WBO European Cruiserweight title. On the back of this, Hosea Burton, also obviously cousin of Tyson Fury, decided to retire from boxing, so all the best to him in retirement. Was a good fighter. I don't think he quite achieved what he perhaps could have achieved. So yeah, I'm going to mark him down as a bit of an underachiever. Nice guy, good fighter, but yeah, he's had a obviously really bad run in recent years, and yeah, I'm happy that he's calling it a day now before he continues hanging around too long and perhaps, you know, being damaged in a way that cannot be reversed. But yeah, good win for Ellis Zorro. Like I say, I think he's passed a few really good stern tests now. I liked his fight last time against Dex Spellman. I liked this one against Hosea Burton. I think he needs to be pushed in a good way. I think Ellis Zorro perhaps is certainly a name to be, you know, thinking of as a top guy. I know that this one was at cruiserweight, which obviously isn't good for Hosea Burton. I mean, he's a career light heavy, so I guess, you know, what was he really doing taking a fight like this up at cruiserweight when you think about it? But like I say, I think he kind of knew that he was towards the end of his career. And yeah, losing by stoppage, that's enough for him. But Zorro, yeah, certainly one to keep an eye on. And yeah, I think yeah, he should be moved quite cleverly. I don't know who he's with. I'm guessing he must be with Frank Warren now. But yeah, I want to see him in big fights. I think he's a good fighter. And also on the card, Ezekiel Moderna. We saw him last time out, springing the upset, knocking out Karol Itama. He returned here back in the UK, but he this time was knocked out in round 4 by Willie Hutchinson, who's now 16-1, and Ezekiel Moderna now 29-11. Moderna down in the 2nd round, and once in the 4th prior to the stoppage. It was for the WBC International Light Heavyweight title. Really happy for friend of the show, Willie Hutchinson, who I think was probably lacking a bit of confidence since losing to Lennox Clark a couple years ago. Hadn't really done anything since then, and he was fighting a very confident Argentinian fighter here. So I'm really pleased for him to get the knockout. Straight after the fight, he went ringside where Dan Aziz was sitting. He said he wants that fight, and it seems like they're going to perhaps get it on. It'll be a great one if we do get to see it. I think Willie Hutchinson, still very young, but obviously, you know, he's tipped to do really big things in the sport, and it'll be great to see him try and achieve those goals. Moving now to the Philippines at the Okada Manila Hotel and Casino. Over here we had a bit of a wild card fighter from Namibia, 12-1 with 11 KOs, and the one loss he'd avenged as well by knockout. It was for the WBO Global Super Bantamweight title. Philippus Unungitambwa, I think his name was, the Namibian fighter. He went over there to the Philippines, boxed John Real Casimero, former world champion. Casimero was able to eke out a unanimous decision in quite a close fight over 12 rounds. Casimero now 33-4. Just a really strange fight there, but again, because it was for a WBO global title, I'm guessing that there's plans there in terms of how they're going to move Casimero. Moving now to the Emperor's Palace in Kempton Park. Over here in South Africa, we saw Kevin Lerena return to the ring. I think that's his first fight back after losing to Daniel Dubois, despite having Daniel Dubois in serious trouble in round 1. He's now 29-2, a unanimous decision, quite wide I think in the end, over 12 rounds against Riyad Mary, who's now 31-2, bit of a protected record he had. And then, moving to the Stockton Arena in California, USA. This one was on ESPN, a top-ranked show. Let's fly through the undercard. Son of Fernando Vargas, Amado Vargas, now 7-0. Some people saying he's probably the worst of the sons of Fernando Vargas. But anyway, he was able to drop in round 1, but beat by unanimous decision over 4 rounds Bernardo Manzano, now 2-5. Ruben Villa as well. I expected him to get a points win because he'd been quite inactive and was never really a big puncher or nothing. So I expected him to get a points win against Michael Villagrana. But no, he actually knocked him out in round 5. It was a good performance from Ruben Villa. I think it kind of reminded a few people in his weight division that he is one to watch out for the people that were perhaps sleeping on him or perhaps had forgotten about him for a little while. He's now 20-1, a KO there in round 5 against Michael Villagrana, now 16-5. What else? Brian Norman Jr. with a win, now 24-0. He was able to beat unanimously over 8 rounds Jesus Campos, now 24-5. What else did we have? Gabe Flores Jr. as well, now 22-2. A knockout for him in the very first round against Derek Murray, now 17-9 with a draw. I expected that one to go the distance, actually, so I got that horribly wrong. It was a fantastic shot from Gabe Flores. Really big statement. I thought it was unbelievable. What a statement from him. Moving up the card once again, Janibek Alim Kanuli, now 14-0, as we expected. It was probably never going to go the distance. He got in there with Canada's Stephen Butler, who is a bit of a I'm going to knock you out or get knocked out type of guy. Very entertaining, not much of a great defense, but loves to throw big shots himself. Down 3 times in round 2 for the WBO World Middleweight title and knocked out in that second round. He was all over the place, to be honest with you. I think Jack Reese, he certainly gave him every opportunity to try and continue Stephen Butler, but it was a bit dangerous. I think if he would have took a massive shot, he could have been in serious trouble, and we'd be saying Jack Reese is a real villain in this fight. However, he was on such wobbly legs from the first knockdown that every single time he got hit with half a punch, he was going down because his legs were all over the place. It should have probably been stopped with the first knockdown. I couldn't believe that Jack Reese let him continue, then continue again after the second knockdown. And like I say, the third knockdown, like literally you could blow, some wind blowing could have knocked him over. You could blow and he would have fell on the ground, Stephen Butler. So yeah, I'm happy he didn't really take any big shots when he was in that condition. He was just literally falling over from the air of the punches from Alim Kanuli at that point. So thankfully he didn't take any big ones. But anyway, nonetheless, it shouldn't have carried on. But yeah, thankfully he didn't get seriously injured. And then, Jason Maloney was able to achieve his childhood dream as well. Fantastic for him. A majority decision over 12 rounds. I think he was the rightful winner over Vincent Astrolabio, now 18-4. Jason Maloney now 26-2. The new WBO World Bantamweight Champion. Really, really happy for him. Like I say, really like his brother Andrew. And we need to get Jason Maloney on the show sometime soon. So I will try and reach out to make that happen. But yeah, thought he boxed really well. Quite a tidy fighter, just like Andrew, to be honest with you. Very, very similar styles, I think. And I think he boxed to a smart game plan and won convincingly for me. I was quite surprised to see it was a majority. Moving now to the Cosmopolitan of Las Vegas. We're coming down to the final 2 cards. This one took place in Las Vegas, Nevada. Over here we saw on the undercard Rances Barthélemy with the majority decision over 10 rounds against Omar Juarez, now 14-2. Barthélemy now 30-2 with a draw. It was a typical Barthélemy performance. He's a really good fighter, but he just is not very entertaining to watch, and that is what he did here. He just did his usual and dominated a young good fighter in Omar Juarez, and that's what he does. He fights at his pace. He's very good at fighting at his pace. He's very good at controlling the distance. He's very good at controlling, like I say, the pace of the fight. and he gets in a groove, and it frustrates a lot of fighters, and we saw it here happen again. So yeah, Rances Barthélemy with a points win, no real surprise for me there. Elsewhere on the card, we saw Batir Akhmadov as well. He's now 9-3. He lost to friend of the show, Kenny Sims Jr., now 20-2 with a draw. It was a 12-round majority decision for Kenny Sims Jr. It was a really, really good fight as well. Like I say, I said it on last week's show. I think this one is like under the radar fight of the week type of fight. So I think he kind of lived up to that, really. Kenny Sims, though, I'm really pleased for him because he's been on quite a little good run now for the last few fights, and I think this is a name here in Akhmadov. He doesn't have the prettiest record now. He's only 9-3. It doesn't look fantastic, but he's a really good fighter, way better than that record suggests. You know, I think he's a fringe world level guy, and that's my opinion anyway. And yeah, I think Kenny Sims has really made a statement by winning this fight. It was close. I think it was always going to be close. I expected it to go the distance as well, despite Akhmadov being a real big puncher. And yeah, I just think that says a hell of a lot about Kenny Sims. He probably did just nick it. It was super close, really could have gone either way, but I'm over the moon for him being a friend of the show. And yeah, forget about Akhmadov now. Move on to the bigger and better fights, my friend, because yeah, I think he's earned it now. And yeah, it was unfortunate. And I'm guessing you must have saw it, Eddie. Rolando Romero, somehow 15-1 now, a TKO, a very questionable one against Ismael Barroso, now 24-4 with 2 draws. It was for the WBA World Super Lightweight title, which was vacant. Boy, oh boy, controversy, Eddie. Did you see it?
I saw some of it. I saw, parts I wasn't able to see every bit. But, yeah. And I was talking to, my brother Steve about it. He was saying, man, if this guy loses to this 40-year-old guy, and I'm not, that's not to put, throw any shade on him, but he's supposed to be a killer. He's supposed to, He fought Tank. And, he had Tank, in some people's eyes on the run, you know what I'm saying? Before he got caught and stopped. So, they're saying that he, he's not a boogeyman or anything, but, a dangerous fighter. And for him to be getting beat like this, pretty solidly, not saying that the guy was like miles ahead or whatever, but he's not supposed to be losing this fight. He's supposed to be in control. He's supposed to be dominating this fight and, possibly knocking the guy out at any moment. And it just didn't look like that. Then on top of that, when you see the stoppage, oh my God. And the punches weren't even barely even hitting the guy. And, he might have been hurt from one of the punches or whatever. It might have been at least, a little foggy from something, but was still about, still had his wits and everything. You see he was still together. And then for him to literally walk in, step in and stop it, it's just, it's really wild. It makes it look bad. It makes him look, it mars the win. It takes from the win. You understand what I'm saying? And I just, you can't be mad at it because of how it looks controversial stoppage and all. And the fact that he was actually probably down on the cards. I think he was down on the cards.
Yeah, I just want to jump in and say, he was 5 rounds down on Steve Weisfeld's card. He was 3 rounds on David Sutherland's card and 1 round on Tim Cheatham. So he was losing unanimously and was in a position really where he needed a knockout.
Right, exactly. And so it just looks worse. It looks. I didn't know he was down that much at the time, and then I forgot. It had him pretty soundly beat. So yeah, it just doesn't look good for him going forward. And at this point, where do you go from there? Even after a win, it's like, you're planning almost like it was a loss. You know what I mean? But I'm pretty sure they're going to say, hey, well, look, we got the stoppage, regardless of what it meant and how he looked. You know what I mean? You got to get wins in the face of sometimes bad performances, and I guess they'll just go forward with that. Hopefully for them, it's good enough.
Yeah, horrendous performance from referee Tony Weeks, and I don't often say that. I think Tony Weeks is a really good referee. However, none of the punches that Rolando Romero threw at the end of that fight there landed. I mean, when you saw the replay, it was atrocious. Not to mention the fact that Barroso had put Rolando Romero down earlier on in the fight. And obviously, Romero had put Barroso down as well, so they had a knockdown each. And he was in no danger at all, Barroso. And like I say, well ahead on the cards. And unbelievably, now we have, a new world champion in Romero. You know, it's quite sickening. And someone put a picture up of Badu Jack, I'm guessing when he fought Marcus Brown, when he had that horrendous cut in the middle of his forehead. And I think at the time, Badu Jack was he was living in Vegas at that time, I'm pretty sure. And for whatever reason, I don't know, you know, I'm not sure. I don't want to get into the political side of things, but Tony Weeks was the referee in that fight and didn't stop it. You know, both fighters are former Mayweather Promotions fighters. I don't know. It just did not look good. Tony Weeks made a real bad mistake there, and that unfortunately has kind of become the boxing talk of the week. His awful performance. Rolando Romero at the moment should not be a world champion, and there should be a rematch ordered instantly here. And yeah, Barroso, I mean, it was his last chance, you know, to win a world title, and he was probably going to win it. So yeah, just sickening, man. Sickening that this stuff happens in this sport. It's just week after week there's something, man, but there's nothing I can do or we can do, and we just have to swallow it, which is just BS. But yeah, I'm devastated for Barroso, because like I say, he's that kind of fighter, you know, from South America, who doesn't speak any English, doesn't have a big following, 40 years of age, no one cares. You know, if he gets robbed, who gives a crap, you know? We got a new champion, Romero, American fighter, talks a good game, really, you know, good salesman, if you like. So that's all that matters, you know. Who cares about Barroso? And that's just the unfortunate, you know, side of boxing. But yeah, something needs to be done. Something needs to be done, and I hope it does get done for his sake. And moving now to the final card to mention, it took place at the Seagate Convention Center in Toledo, Ohio, USA. Friend of the show, Albert Bell, returned to the ring. A unanimous decision over 10 rounds against William Encarnacion, who's now 20-5. Albert Bell now 23-0. Like I say, unanimous over 10 for the WBO NABO Super-Featherweight title. That, though, is the end of the review part of the show. The final thing for me to do is to welcome this week's special guest. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the undefeated Super-Featherweight contender. It is, of course, Mr. Archie Sharp. Archie, welcome back on the show, my man.
Thanks for having me on, mate. I hope all is well.
Yep, all is well, my friend. So, Arch, we last spoke back in February. At that time, obviously, you were getting ready to fight on April 14th. That was a date rumoured. You didn't have an opponent at that point. Yeah, it did end up happening. April 14th at York Hall. You boxed Mauro Perouene. I was there. For those that didn't see it, though, just talk me through the fight. Obviously, unanimous decision over 10 against a tough guy.
Yeah, so like I say, it was originally I think I was supposed to end up fighting Fonseca, but that all fell through about I think 2 weeks before the fight. So obviously this fella come in, and no, it was a good performance, mate. To be honest with you, look, I had a couple of injuries leading up to the fight that wasn't really known to anyone. It was just something that me and my team knew about, but we just got through it. Obviously, it's my first fight with Roy Jones Jr., obviously Richard and Ian Weaver. So no, overall, mate, it was a good performance, and I was pleased with the performance. Roy and the team were as well. So yeah, we move on now.
And also, it was your birthday. Was that weird fighting on your birthday, Arch?
Yeah, my birthday. Now, do you know what? It's I suppose now I'm getting older and I've got 4 kids, mate. It's all about them, innit? You kind of forget about your own birthdays, mate. So yeah, no, it was all good, mate. Look, it was a very busy time because, like I say, my birthday. So I wasn't with the kids leading up to it. And also I just had a newborn the week before. So it was all very a bit manic and a bit busy. Everything was up in the air. So, but no, it's all good, mate. It's all good. Now I've been able to enjoy the time with the family, and we get ready to go again.
And just on your opponent, obviously we'd seen him stopped by Dalton Smith. But yeah, he was a sturdy fighter, a tough guy, obviously, like I say. Obviously, I guess he probably didn't have too much notice, but yeah, he was tough. Like you could see, he could definitely take a shot.
Yeah, he was tough, and the last, I think, 2 or 3 fights have been at 140, 140 plus. So he's obviously been in the ring with the bigger lads. And like you say, the only one really to put him away in the bigger lads were Dalton, and I think that was in the last round or the 7th round. So he's obviously been in with good opposition. He was tough. He was a southpaw. He was definitely game. And I think now having Roy in my corner as well, mate, I've got a bigger target on my back. They seem to come out firing.
Yeah, and as you say, it was your first fight under Roy Jones. I did joke with you after the fight and say that sometimes during the fight you look like Archie Sharp, sometimes you look like the white Roy Jones. You were a lot flashier than I've seen you before. I mean, obviously a lot of showmanship, but then you box like that as an amateur though, Arch.
This is it. So everyone who knows me from the amateur days, when I won all these national titles and beat all these good kids, I was known for being flash. I had the babyface assassin as the name. Do you know what I mean? It was that was how I was. I had tassels from the age of 7 or 8 when I first had my pair of shorts. So I was always known to be flashy. But it's kind of tamed over the years. But now having Roy, who obviously encourages it, but obviously you got to get your work done. That's just in between. That's enjoying it. And so I was enjoying myself. I felt good. And it just come out and it come into play. But it's only going to get better, do you know what I mean? So it was only like a taste of what we've been working on and what we've been doing. And I'm looking forward to showcasing a lot more. And the better opposition you'll see, the better it comes out of myself.
Yeah, I kept looking over to Roy and he looked, really happy, and he was smiling and stuff when you were, pulling off these moves. Is that like a sign of what's to come in terms of, I know you speak about the smart work, and obviously I've been down the gym, you let me come down there and I could see some of the things he was pointing out were just unbelievable, the things, he sees. He's got such a great boxing brain. But are we going to see this flashy side come out more, Arch, or was it just because of the occasion?
Yeah, I believe so. Like, at the end of the day, it's just about me enjoying myself. When I'm enjoying myself and I'm in my own rhythm and doing my own thing and not having people like in the past kind of tame me down, like get behind, like old school kind of textbook boxing. Like, that's not me. Do you know what I mean? And I've kind of let myself go a little bit by getting behind this. I've changed my style over the years, but like I say, I'm here with Roy. We're working on obviously adding a lot to the game and also bringing my old self. So I've got to kind of put it all into one. But yeah, I'm excited, mate. The first fight was to get out of the way. It was to get, like I say, I picked up a bad injury 2 weeks before the fight, so I wasn't with my left shoulder, so I wasn't actually in full work. So no one knew. It was all under the radar because I just wanted to get through and get the win, and obviously, thank God that we did. So, but yeah, so now that I'm injury free now, I've had time to rest for the last 4 weeks. So I'm back in the gym, and then me and Roy are working on. Now he's seen me box in person, like we can add now to what he wants me to do. So he's got me doing my revision, doing my training that I'm going to be getting ready for next week. So yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I might even have a trip out to Vegas towards the end of the month as well, because I know he's out of the review bank.
Lovely. And yes, it's a month ago this week, obviously, from your fight. I wanted to ask, what have you been up to since then? You touched on it a little bit there, but also family time as well. What's it been like with the newborn as well?
Do you know what? It's been hectic because unfortunately my younger two come down ill, and so it's been really hard. But look, it's just family. I've been able to enjoy the time with the family. But like I said, the last 10 days, kids have been unwell. But thankfully today is a turnaround day. They're a lot better. So, but yeah, that's been me, mate. It's been back to reality, back to family life, and yeah, just cracking on, mate. Just cracking on.
Good stuff, man. Good to hear that they're doing better. I wanted to ask as well, Arch, what did you make of John Ryder's attempt? He obviously went to Mexico, tried to beat Canelo. I'm guessing you saw it.
Yeah, I watched the fight, man. I thought it was a good fight. I thought he done very, very well. Very tough, John. I've known John for years. I've been down at the gym and trained alongside him, watching him spar. And listen, he's a very tough man. And I thought he'd do well. Like, people writ him off, and I thought he went out there and done very, very, made a good credit of himself. I don't know about you, but I thought the ring looked small, but I suppose that's in favour of both of them. But yeah, no, it was good, mate. I enjoyed it. What about yourself? Did you enjoy the fight?
Yeah. It was an 18-foot ring. Yeah, they tried to make it small. Yeah, in round 5 when John got dropped, I thought that's it. The end's near. So yeah, he just got back up and obviously, battled back. And I said it on last week's show as well. I said, really and truly, the corner could have pulled him out. He could have had the little word in the corner in the ear on a sly one and said, look, I've had enough. And it would have been perfectly fine and perfectly acceptable to have pulled him out. But obviously, he went straight with it and, tried to give it his all for the rest of the fight, didn't he? So credit to him.
Yeah, 100% credit to John, and I think, like I say, towards the back end of the fight, I think he shocked a lot of people as well, because Canelo showed a few flaws there towards the end of the fight, and John come on strong. So he shocked a lot of people. I would have thought he gained a lot of fans as well.
Yeah, I'm sure he did, man. And yeah, credit to John. Big fan of his as well. Yeah, again, since we last spoke, Britain now has a new world champion at your weight, obviously a two-time champion. Joe Cordina, I know you watched it, beat Shavkat Rakhimov. How highly do you rate Cordina, Arch? And is that someone that you've got your eye on now as such, or are you just primarily focusing on the WBO route, which is totally fine considering you're still number one with those guys?
Yeah, well, look, Joe is definitely an opponent, definitely a fight that I'm looking at as an opponent for later on or in the near future. Obviously, he's a two-time world champion. He's got a belt now, so he's going to want to be looking to fight another fighters, Foster or Navarrete.
Zelfa Barrow, I reckon it's going to happen, but yeah.
Well, I don't know. It could happen. Listen, I don't know. If I was Cordina and I've got belts, mate, I just want to be wanting to clear up and get more belts. I wouldn't want to be having fights where, unless people are bringing belts to the table. So that's what I'd be doing if I'm in his position. So I would have thought he'd be doing the same. And also, he's a bit older than me as well. Do you know what I mean? So if we ain't got loads of time around him, so he's probably thinking, let me get a couple of belts, maybe move up. That's what I'd probably be looking if I was in his position. But yeah, he's a great fighter, Joe, and I think he's a very clever fighter. It's definitely a fight that I'm interested in, open to. I spoke to the team a couple of days ago about what my plans are moving forward. I definitely mentioned Joe, he's got a belt, obviously Foster, Navarrete. These are all fights that I've been asking for. Even we mentioned about the John O'Carroll fight. There's a few fights there that we've been talking about. So hopefully we can make them happen. But the super-featherweight division is booming at the minute. And I'm just looking, mate, I'm just hungry to get out there. Obviously, Valdez is fighting Lopez now, which the whole reason why they topped me up with the Wilson thing was to make Navarrete and Valdez, but for some reason that's not going ahead now. So if Navarrete needs a dance partner, I'm here. But like you say, I'm against the top rank here and the BO. For some reason, the top rank fighters, they want it all their own way, and they don't want other fighters from elsewhere to come in and pick the belt up, obviously. So that's where I'm at the minute, Joey. Just trying to get these big fights, mate. Trying to get these names.
Yeah, I remember when they made that Oscar Valdez fight. Obviously, he's rematching Adam Lopez. I remember actually, as soon as it was announced, I texted you. I think I was the first person to say it. I said, "What the hell?" We were like shocked, like, "What is going on?" Just makes no sense at all. But yeah, you're right. They obviously want to keep that belt in house. And you tweeted out a few days ago, Arch, that there's big news coming real soon. What can you tell us?
Yeah, so I've been in talks with the team. We're looking at what options we've got. We've got a couple of options there on the table. It's just about going back and negotiating now and seeing where we are. But either way, the fights that I'm looking at next have to be big, because that's what I want, the big fights. And what we've got on the cards is, it's going to be big news. And like I say, having Roy there, Roy's playing a big part of a few things. So hopefully, mate, the news will be here very, very soon, and everyone will know.
And I'm guessing, I don't want to prod too hard, but I'm guessing that's, either a big name or perhaps a title.
Well, ideally, a world title shot. I'm ranked number one in the WBO. Navarrete, he hasn't got a dance partner, so that is it's madness, mate, because I'm there, should be fighting Navarrete next. That is what I will be pushing for, and I will be asking the WBO many questions, asking why I'm not mandatory yet, who do I need to fight to be mandatory, because you've got Albert Bell there, that could be a potential fight as well. Even though, like I say, I'm number one, I should be jump straight into fighting Navarrete. And then, yeah, we'll see what else. Like I say, I'm ranked in the BC now, so I might have to fight someone, obviously, higher ranked in the BC to climb up a little bit more. So yeah, we're looking at options, big options, and, yeah, world title fights, mate, by the end of the year, 100%. We've got Foster there, there's some big names.
Excellent, man. I cannot wait to hear the news when it's official, Arch. And just finally, before we let you go, if you've got any closing words just to the listeners, say whatever you like before we let you go, my man.
Yeah, just as always, mate, thank you for the support, and everyone should keep supporting your channel as well, because, you know what I mean, you always got great content out there every week, and I enjoy listening to it myself. And like I say, thanks to everyone else, and stay tuned, because there's some more news coming. I've had an inactive year and a couple of years, but it's all pushing on now, so it's all good timing.
Good to hear it, my man. It's all about the timing, and cannot wait for this announcement. Still a lot of 2023 left to enjoy. Cannot wait. But listen, Arch, it's always a pleasure speaking with you, my man. Thanks for your time, and we'll speak again soon enough when the news drops.
You too, my friend. Thank you very much.
Okay, now it's time for part 2 on this week's show. This part, usually the news part of the show. No news to report, so we're going to move straight on to the preview part. We're going to start here in Dublin, Ireland, and that's an absolutely awful Irish accent, I think. We'll have to see. We'll have to see what the people say that listen to that. Anyway, on the undercard, we're going to see Thomas Carty, 5-0. I think he's got 4 KOs. Gets in there with the very tough Jay McFarlane, who's 14-7. Never in good shape, but a real tough guy. Only been stopped once in 7, though, so I'm expecting Carty to win this one on points. You can double your money on that one there. It's for the Boxing Union of Ireland Celtic heavyweight title. Elsewhere on the card, we're going to see Kevin Agyarko, 12-0, getting there with Grant Dennis, who's 18-4. I'm expecting Agyarko to win this and probably look quite good doing so. I'm not entirely sure if he's going to stop Grant Dennis or what, but yeah, I think he wins that one quite comfortably. Elsewhere on the card as well, one fighter that I want to touch on, obviously he's a friend of the show now. I was going to say I want to get him on, but I forgot we actually had him on a few weeks ago. Gary Cully, 16-0, unbelievable fighter at the moment. He's just blind for everyone. I think he's put together, about 5 KOs in a row. Gets in there with Jose Felix. I know that he was rumoured to fight Jorge Linares on this card. That, for whatever reason, didn't happen. Gets in with Jose Felix, 39-6 with a draw. You're going to say, whoa, what a crazy record. But again, a bit of an inflated record. You look through his record, hasn't really beaten anyone of any validity, to be honest, in his entire 39 wins. He went through the first 20 odd fights in his career, literally boxing people who had records like 2-4, 6-16, 3-11, 8-9, 6-13, 0-4, people like that. But his losses have come to fighters that we have heard of. He got knocked out in 3 rounds back in 2018 by Isaac Cruz. He lost unanimously 2 fights ago to Tyrone McKenna, and he lost unanimously in his last fight to Spain's Sandor Martin. So yeah, hasn't won a fight since April 2021. He beat a guy who was 30-21. The win before that, he beat a guy who was 22-17, and then that goes back to the Isaac Cruz knockout loss. The win before that was against a guy who was 4-4. I think you're probably getting the picture here. So I'm expecting Gary Cully to not have too many problems against Jose Felix. He's only been stopped twice though in his 6 losses, so let's see if Gary Cully can do something there. Moving up the card once again, we're going to see, this is a really good fight actually. I think this is a fantastic fight. Terry Harper, her record these days, 13-1 with a draw. I've said it so many times, she looks unbelievable up at 154. It's for the WBA World Super Welterweight title. Obviously absolutely mad to think that she was once upon a time a super featherweight, and she has moved up several weight classes and looks the picture of fitness. She looks absolutely perfect, super strong. But yeah, she's in a real step up here against Cecilia Brackhouse, who's 37-2, former pound for pound #1 female fighter in the world. Her 2 losses were close losses on points to Jessica McCaskill. Particularly the first fight that was really close, the second one not so much. But yeah, she's only lost to McCaskill, who's got a completely different style to Terry Harper, and I would not write Brackhouse off in this fight. She's about a 3-1, maybe 4-1 underdog. I think that's well worth a punt there, and yeah, if she's to win on points as well, so that's even better odds. But yeah, I would not count Brackhouse out. Should be a good fight though against Terry Harper. Moving up the card, Dennis Hogan as well, 31-4 with a draw. Looked quite good last time out, beating Sam Eggington. He got his tactics spot on against Sam Eggington, really. Just decided not to stand in the pocket with him, and he decided to move around the ring, use his feet, and he looked quite good. He's a big underdog though here for the IBO World Super Welterweight title against James Metcalf, 24-2. Metcalf, it's a strange one with him as well, really. Had a fantastic fight with Ted Cheeseman a few years ago, even though he got stopped. Come back, lost to Kieran Conway, but he's put together 3 wins in a row. He looked good, by the way, beating Kerman Leharaga. He was like the only Brit, or the first Brit, to beat Kerman Leharaga, I think, after Leharaga had beaten so many of our guys. Bradley Skeet, Frankie Gavin, Tyrone Nurse, Jack Flatley, Jez Smith. He was going through all these Brits, and James Metcalf was the guy to tough it out and beat him, and he looked really, really good that night in Spain. And then after that, he come back against America's Courtney Pennington, who wasn't really that good, but I didn't expect him to stop him, and he did. So he's in really, really good form. He gets in with Dennis Hogan, and like I say, he's the big favourite. He's a tough guy, James Metcalf. It's going to be a good fight. I think that one will probably go the distance. Not entirely sure which way it could go. I think I'd probably edge Metcalf maybe. And then the main event. What a superb fight! I don't want to go too long speaking about it, but it's for the undisputed super lightweight titles: IBF, WBA, WBC, WBO, IBO as well. 10 2-minute rounds. Chantel Cameron, the undisputed champion, the undefeated champion, 17-0, like I say. It's up at her weight. Katie Taylor moves up here to 140. 22-0, obviously undisputed champion at 135. It's a mega fight. It's a fantastic fight. It's a fight we never thought we'd see. This is really Ireland's best female and Britain's best female getting in with each other here. And it's just a magnificent fight. Like I say, a lot of people felt it wouldn't happen. A lot of people very early on identified Chantel Cameron as probably what we thought would be Katie Taylor's toughest test in her career. She's obviously a bit older, Katie Taylor, than Chantel Cameron. So we thought out of the people that's available to her, this will be the toughest test. And for that reason, people have wanted it for years and years, and we're finally getting it. So I'm so over the moon for Chantel Cameron. It's definitely a winnable fight for her. At one point in her career, I thought she'd knock Katie Taylor out. I was really confident of it. But I think Chantel Cameron was kind of slowed down a little bit in terms of getting her knockouts. And also, Katie Taylor has impressed me of late, where she had a few fights she didn't look great in, but that Amanda Serrano win, I think she was excellent that night there. But we're going to see how good she is against Chantel Cameron, who's the naturally bigger fighter. It's going to be a brilliant fight. And I'm not ashamed to say it, this female fight has got me, by the nuts, really. I cannot wait to get back from my holiday to watch this fight. Moving out now stateside to the final real kind of main fight to mention, or card to mention. Let's start over here. It's at the MGM Grand, Las Vegas, Nevada. It's going to be live on ESPN Plus. On the undercard, Nico Ali Walsh, 8-0. He gets in with Danny Rosenberger, who's 13-9 with 4 draws. We've got the other son of Fernando Vargas, Emiliano Vargas, 4-0. He gets in with Rafael Jasso, who's 3-0. That's over 4 rounds there. We've got Oscar Valdez, friend of the show, former world champion, 30-1. He returns to the ring in a 10-rounder against former opponent of his. It's a rematch with Adam Lopez, who's 16-4. It's a rematch nobody wanted to see at all. Absolutely pointless. I just do not understand what this is about. I'm guessing, Oscar Valdez, obviously we knew was being manoeuvred into the fight with Navarrete, had to pull out through injury. Navarrete got in there with, the guy from Australia, I forgot his name right now. And Valdez was obviously pushed to the side because he was injured. And I'm guessing that they've just given him, like a keep busy fight to kind of have this, win it, and then go in with Navarrete next. I'm guessing that's the plan. I don't really think it makes much sense. But yeah, they boxed back in 2019, just before COVID. Valdez was actually put down in round 2, and Lopez was down in round 7. But it wasn't a fine performance at all from Oscar Valdez. So yeah, I don't see the point in this rematch at all. I don't want to see it. Elsewhere on the card, again, this one I think is really interesting. Raymond Muratalla, 17-0. He's the guy that's obviously the A side, tipped for big things. He was down in his last fight, I think in the first round. He gets in with Namibia's Jeremiah Nakafila, who's 23-2. It's over 10 rounds. Nakafila very confident going in. Obviously, his 2 losses, one was really controversial, I think in Russia, and the second one was to Shakur Stevenson. He looked awful that night, and some people felt he got exposed. That's going to be the end of him. He's going to go back to Namibia, and that's going to be it. But he came back, obviously, went back to Vegas, and absolutely beat the hell out of Miguel Berchelt in a massive upset. And yeah, that is, I think, the last fight that Nakafila had, and he actually got Bushell out of there, which I think was a mega statement. So really, really happy for him. It's been 14 months since that win against Bushell, but he's back once again in Vegas. He loves going out there, and yeah, he really thinks, I'm going to beat this guy, and I don't blame him. I think he's well worth a punt as an underdog. He is the underdog with the bookies, and yeah, I think he punches, probably harder than Muratalla's last opponent. So yeah, I think he's got a good chance of getting a stoppage. I think he's got a good chance perhaps of winning on points. It's just worth a small punt, I think, there. Elsewhere on the card as well, we're going to see Junto Nakatani move from flyweight up to super flyweight. He's 24-0. He was a champion at flyweight. He gets in with Andrew Maloney, friend of the show, former world champion, now 25-2. It's for the WBO World Super Flyweight title, which is vacant. Maloney wants, of course, to do what his brother did last week, his twin brother Jason. He wants to be 26-2, so they both got the same record, and of course, more importantly than that, he wants to become a world champion as well. He's already been a champion before, but he wants to be a reigning champion at the same time as his brother. All the best to him. It's going to be a tough task. He's the rightful underdog. I've got a feeling that this will go the distance, despite, again, you can make some money on that. I think they're expecting a knockout here for Nakatani. All the best to Andrew Maloney. I'd love to see him pull it off. I think he'll be confident. I think, as he said to me when we had him on a week or two ago, he said he's known about Nakatani for a long, long time. I think he's put together a good game plan, and I think he's feeling really, really confident in himself at the moment. And being ringside as well to see his brother win last week, I think would have lifted him up and given him that extra push. And yeah, the main event, Eddie, I'm going to come to you straight away. Vasyl Lomachenko, 17-2, gets in with Devin Haney, 29-0. It's, of course, for Haney's all of his world titles. It's for the undisputed titles, IBF, WBA, WBC, WBO, world lightweight titles. Yeah, I'm not going to say anymore. I'm going to throw it straight to you, Eddie.
Great fight, but I still say that I want to see is what, to me, it's what Lomachenko has left. I don't think he's shot or anything. I don't think he showed any real, DK in his, ability to fight or anything like that necessarily. But, when we were talking about him, some years ago, we would say like, man, thinking of, the Haney and Lomachenko matchup, that's a great one. It's interesting and all. But then, the injuries, then you had the situation in Ukraine where he went and was fighting alongside guys, back there. And it just kind of, when he came back, didn't seem 100%, himself. It's a work in progress. Obviously, especially when he had the surgery and all. And Andre Ward, I think, spoke about that surgery and said it's just not really an easy surgery to recover from. It takes a little time. So, you excuse him for that. But then the age is now a factor, and different things like that still creep up. And Devin Haney now, high level of confidence. He's, undisputed right now. He feels he deserves that moniker as being, the top dog. So, hey, right now it's still an interesting fight. It's one of those ones you really want to see, and one of the ones I'm really excited for. But I think it all depends on what Lomachenko's capable of at this point in his career. And I think I still think he's still think he's great. I still think he's Lomachenko, but he's gonna have to prove it against Haney. He's gonna have to really do some work, and it's not gonna be easy.
Are we both agreeing that it's probably going to go the distance, Eddie? Don't really see a KO.
Nah, no KO. No KO. I don't think so. If anything, the KO would probably lie more with Lomachenko than Haney. And I'm not saying that Haney doesn't punch hard or anything like that. He doesn't have the ability to hurt a guy. I just don't see it happening with Lomachenko. I think Lomachenko is really, 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 great defensively. Extremely smart fighter. His download of information I think his download speed is a little faster than most guys, or a lot faster than most guys, even at the elite level. So, the knockouts and stuff like that can happen, but I think it would have to be with a more explosive fighter than Haney in front of him. And I think the danger that Haney poses is an extremely good range, boxer at range, got a size advantage there, maybe overwhelm him as far as, with that and boxing skill. But I don't think, and I think that's where, it kind of gives you the vibe that Lomachenko can still win, because, Lomachenko is one of the best boxers we have in the sport. It's just, at this point, his age, you know what I mean, and his recent history is a little bit less than what we would expect from him, but that doesn't mean he's gone. So, like I said, we'll see. But yeah, I don't think there's going to be a knockout in this one.
Yeah, I agree with you there. I think it's going to be a fantastic fight. I mean, like I say, Vasyl Lomachenko, I think he's being judged quite heavily on his most recent performance to Jermaine Ortiz, where Jermaine Ortiz gave him a really good fight, and a lot of people didn't really know who Jermaine Ortiz was. He had no profile at all. Could it have just been, though, that Jermaine Ortiz is a lot better than people thought he was, because no one really heard of him? I think a lot of people in the game knew how good Ortiz was, and some people were cleverly picking him to beat Lomachenko, which was mad. But obviously he didn't, but he gave him a really good fight. And a lot of people are thinking, because of that, Lomachenko's now all of a sudden past it. Obviously, in his loss to Teofimo Lopez, I think people read into that too far. I think he was really weary of Teofimo Lopez's power, and that's power that Devin Haney, we know, doesn't possess. And obviously as well, people need to remember about Devin Haney being really tight at the weight, which is evident to see. I think it's going to be a really interesting fight, and I think the late rounds for Lomachenko is going to be where he has a lot of success, but the early rounds are also rounds that nobody can afford to give away, particularly Devin Haney, I think. So I think it's going to be a really good fight. It's going to be more of a chess match, I think, and I don't really see a knockout for either guy, but yeah, I do agree. Lomachenko, probably the most likely to get it. Lomachenko, by the way, is a 2-1 underdog, so you bet on that. And yeah, you get back triple your stake, or what's that, double your stake plus your stake returned, isn't it? So 2-1, I think that is mad. We're never going to see Lomachenko as a 2-1 underdog probably ever again. And this is the first time that's ever happened. So yeah, cannot wait to see it. Really good fight. Really pleased it's happening. And I think it's going to be live on Sky Sports, if I'm not mistaken. So I cannot wait again to get home and watch that one. Should be a great night of fights on Saturday night. And yeah, Devin Haney's a friend of the show. I usually ride with friends of the show, so all the best to him as well. And yeah, moving now to the final card to mention. It takes place at the Margaret Court Arena in Melbourne, Victoria, Australia. Over here, 2 fights to mention. Nikita Tszyu, the brother of Tim Tszyu, he's 5-0. He's in a 6-rounder against Benjamin Bomber, who's 5-0 as well. Somebody's O must go. And then the main event, I'm going to be real brief on it, is for the vacant Commonwealth heavyweight title. We're going to see friend of the show, former world champion Joseph Parker, these days 31-3. I'm not entirely sure of what his promotional agreement is. I don't know if he's left boxer or what, but he looked quite bad last time against Jack Massey. He gets in with 15-3-2 Fega Apelu, who's got 11 KOs. He's also, he's got Samoan blood. And yeah, we saw him get knocked out most recently in his last loss to Lucas Brown in round 7. He lost to Justice Hooney in round 7 as well. I'm expecting Joseph Parker to beat him with relative ease, but again, it's a fight that doesn't make much sense. It's a backward step for Parker. He didn't look great last time, like I say. I think he needs to move on, and if he's going to get one last run, I say one last run, he's only 31 years of age, but this is a backward step. He's gone back home, he's gone back to a meaningless fight, and I just don't understand what he gets for fight. What's the point of winning the Commonwealth title? You've been a world champion. What are you doing? I don't get it. But all the best to him. Lovely guy. We both like Joe a lot. But anyway, that wraps up the preview part of the show. In part 1, we did the review part. Then we welcomed our special guest. And then in part 2, there was no news to mention. Then we did the preview part. The final thing for me to do is to come in with the outro, which I'll do in just a few seconds. Okay, and this wraps up episode 396 of the BoxHard Podcast. I've been your host, Joey Coastman. Eddie Chambers has been with me for the duration of the show. A huge shout out to this week's special guest, the undefeated super-featherweight contender, Mr. Archie Sharp. The biggest thanks of all, though, goes out to you, the listeners. There has been just one piece of news break whilst we've been recording the show, and it's that Fraser Clark, he does have an opponent. Obviously, it's not going to be Fabio Wardley, but he has an opponent announced for June the 16th. That's going to be in London. And yeah, he gets in with former world title challenger Marius Wack. It's a step in the right direction, I guess. It's going to be at York Hall, which is a bit of a crazy one, but yeah, it's going to be a little bit of a step up really from recent type of opponents, I guess, for him. And yeah, I think it'll go a few rounds, but this is the kind of opposition that we need to see him in with. He does need to be fast tracked, but yeah, Wack obviously is at the tail end of his career now, coming off 3 defeats in a row, including 4 of his last 5. But yeah, all the best there to Frazer Clark. That's about everything though from myself. Enjoy your weekends, people. Stay safe, and we shall see you all again next week.